I wanted to talk to you guys today about, well, not talk to you guys, but I wanted to tell you guys a little story. Not necessarily a little story, I just wanted to share something with you guys. I guess you can say that. So, these kind of look okay. I didn't have these on in my last episode because I typically, I don't even call these episodes. These are just kind of more like confessionals, and they're really spur of the moment. And I really have to be in a specific type of mood to even sit in front of the computer and do something like this, and that's not gonna work because the reflection in the glasses are just like pretty crazy. But anyways, I really just wanted to share a little something that it really resonated with me, and it may resonate with you, particularly in by all means, I don't want to this isn't gonna, it's kind of like a dad confessional, but it could relate to anybody. If you're a mother, it can relate to you depending on like what your current situation is. It could pretty much relate to anybody. But for me specifically, I just had one of those like aha moments, and it may not even be an aha moment. It could just be me overthinking things, or just me putting too much thought into something, or me just not recalling a specific time in my life. But anyways, to make a long story short, so every night, and I know I probably shouldn't do this, but there's a reason why I do this, and you'll understand why when I get to the end of this. And I know even with all this said, it's still something that I know I shouldn't do, but it's just that small piece of me that feels like this is something that I like doing, and it's something that I do to try and create like a bond with my son, well, my oldest son right now. So my oldest son is 2, he is about to be 3 in a little less than a week. Actually, in like 6 days, he's going to be 3. And my wife and I usually put our kids down to go to sleep roughly around 7:30. But my oldest son, he's 2 going into that 3-year-old stage, and he's just at that stage where he's comfortable in his own bedroom, but he just takes an extremely long time to fall asleep. And my method to avoiding having to constantly go back into the room, because he's either trying to keep himself awake, or he's trying to play with toys, or whatever the case may be, is to like stay in the room with him and either lay on the floor and read books to him, or just talk to him, or just to kind of just be there, and I don't know, it's just now he's just gotten to the point where it doesn't matter who puts him down to sleep. Like he always, even during nap times, like he just needs me in the room. Like I don't know if it's something that where he's becoming dependent of me being in the room in order for him to fall asleep, which is not true, because he's fallen asleep on his own multiple times. It just depends on what type of day he's had. But for the most part, he doesn't necessarily request that I'm in the room, but he would prefer that I'm in the room with him when it's time for him to go to sleep. And it's something that I know that I probably shouldn't do, and it's it's just one of those things that he's gotten used to now. So now it's just a part of his routine, which I always thought was a good thing to do. I want to be able to spend that time with my child before he goes to sleep, whether it's reading books or etc. And part of me wanting to do that kind of thing is that I'm not saying that I never had that as a child, but I don't have any immediate recollection of my dad spending time with me or my brother in the room before we went to sleep to like read us stories and things like that. And I know that seems like a little, I don't want to say naive, but it seems like a little like fantasy. Like those are the depictions of dads that you get in the movies and in storybooks and just things like that. And those are the things that I didn't say I necessarily grew up on, but like as I got older and I would watch movies and I would see what the Hollywood version of like what a good dad, not necessarily a good dad, because I don't want to put any onus on other, dads or anything like that, but like just what the ideal dad is like. Oh, you go to work, you come home, you provide for your family, you read stories to your kids, and, you play with your kids and things like that. So I've always tried to make sure that I'm there for my kids in that retrospect. Like whenever they want to play, I want to be there to be able to play with them. Whenever, it's time to go to sleep and they want to read stories, I want to be there to, read stories to them. I want to be there to, if they want to play with blocks and do creative things, like I want to be there to promote and help them in their creativity and just, all that good stuff. But anyways, it just got to a point where tonight, and this isn't the first time I've heard this from my son, but it just really resonated with me tonight for whatever reason, is that, he'll like, usually he goes down, like I said, he goes down around like 7 to 7:30. And to be honest with you, I'm usually in there until about almost like 8:30. So I'm in there for about an hour. Now, most of the time, I don't necessarily want to be in there that long, just because just being in there, and he has like a little night light that sings like lullaby music. So if you're a parent, you'll totally understand what I'm getting at this point, because like you're in there in that room with the lullaby music going on and it's like dark and you're just trying to get your kid to go to sleep, like you will fall asleep too. And there's been multiple times where I've fallen asleep in that room just because of the environment. Like it's a really relaxing environment, and there's times where I've fallen asleep and I've woken up and this fool was still awake. And it was just like, I'm over here like zonked out and this fool is still in the bed like playing with his airplane or playing with his car or whatever. So it's like pretty funny. But there's also times where it's like, it helps them, go to sleep. But very so often, like he'll tell me like, oh, dad, I need you in my room. I need you in my room. And I know he's saying that from a comfort standpoint, but it's also one of those things where it's like, as parents, you're busy all day, trying to do things around the house, trying to do things to like take care of your kids and, whether you work and do all that kind of stuff. And when it's time for the kids to go to sleep, typically once the kids go to sleep, now that's either an opportunity for you to spend time with your spouse if you're married, and if you're not married, if you're a single parent, then that's an opportunity for you to have some downtime and to do whatever it is that you do, whether it's binging Netflix, whether it is, having me time, whether that's the time that you exercise and keep up with your fitness. That's usually a time that's like, what do they call it? It's like a golden hour. Like once the kids go down to sleep, whether it's for nap time or whether it's bedtime, that's like a golden hour, right? So I noticed that it's one of those things where it, I guess interfere is not really the right word, but it clashes with, evening time for myself, for me to do things that I want to do, whether it's, work on my website, whether it's prep for my podcast or blog or do things like this, or, work on my social media and just trying to engage with people that follow me, or just to like brainstorm, or even if it is just to relax and just binge a show or doing something like that. Right now I'm actually binging through all the Marvel series right now, and I'm doing that, on some late night, mess, just because like I typically don't watch a lot of TV. So every now and again I will, check in and watch a movie here and there, during my own time, because these are just things that make me happy. But anyways, getting sidetracked here, but say to me, like, in this like sweet, like angelic voice, like, dad, I need you in my room, I need you in my room. And it's like, as a father, like, you don't want to leave your child at that point. Like, you want to be able to, and I'm specifically, and I'm not trying to segregate this, but like specifically for dads, if you're a dad and you either work a lot and you don't really get to spend a lot of time with your kids, or if you are someone like myself who doesn't recall like growing up with that, or remember like having your dad by your bedside as you went to sleep every night. To me, like, that's something that I want my kids to grow up knowing that, like, their dad was always there and they can always count on their dad to be there for them, whenever they need them, and it's not something where it's like, yeah, like, we get caught up with life and we get caught up with like, everything that's going on in the world, and we get caught up with just, I don't know, just the trials and tribulations of life. But at the end of the day, like, when your kid is telling you that they need you in their room and it's time to go to bed, it's like one of those things where you not only feel wanted and feel needed, but it's just, for me, particularly for me, it's just one of those things where I know my kid this memory is going to be embedded in his mind, whether he's 20, 30 years from now, he may not remember the specifics, but he's going to have some type of recollection of, bedtime with daddy, right? Like, that's just one of those things that I have a feeling like he's going to remember. And being that I don't recall having that with my dad, makes me want to do it even more. But in the long run, I know it's probably not something that I should be doing, because it could end up backfiring down the road where now he's going to become super dependent of it. But, that's just one of those things, one of those risks that I'm just willing to take, just to be able to establish that bond with my son, because that's really important to me. And it should be important to most dads out there that want to have that relationship with their kids, and they want to be able to like vibe with their kids. And I'm not telling you need to be best friends with your kid, but I'm also saying that, hey, if this story resonates with you, and maybe you were in a similar situation as a kid where your dad wasn't around, or you don't have these fond memories of your dad doing bedtime, or just like having that comfort. Now, don't get me wrong, I have tons of memories of me spending a lot of time with my dad and wanting to be with my dad all the time. But there's just specific areas, that I've painted pictures in my mind from an introverted standpoint, just from seeing movies and things like that, like I said before. And like, now that I'm a parent, it's not like you go through life knowing what it's like to be a parent. Like, you don't really know anything about being a parent until you're actually in that situation. So now that I'm in that situation, I'm constantly thinking about, what was my childhood like what type of relationship did I have with my dad. And as I think about those things, I try to not implement some of the stuff that I felt as a kid, but I try to put myself in the kid's shoes. I try to put myself in my son's shoes, that like, hey, like, if I was him, like, what would I want from my dad? And that doesn't mean I give him what he wants all the time, but in situations like that, I want to make sure that I'm there for them. But there are times where, like a night like tonight, where I really just wanted to spend some time with my wife and just, we were just making plans to just watch TV and just hang out for a little bit. And a lot of times we don't get to do that because I'm either in the room with our son or, luckily for me, this was a slow night for my wife as far as like her binging and, a lot of her shows and stuff like that. Like she watches TV way more than I do. But tonight was just one of those nights. And we do this occasionally where we'll, spend some time together and we'll catch up on our shows and things like that. I'm pretty sure that's pretty popular with like most, couples and married people now, that you have your designated nights where you binge your shows, whether it's on Netflix or just, regular TV or whatever. But typically we don't get to do that because I'm usually in the room with him until about, 7:45, 8 o'clock, 8:30. And then the nights that I do end up falling asleep in there, when I do wake up, it's like I'm going to bed. Like I'm not trying to stay up. I'm just so tired, because it's like one of those things, like once you fall asleep, there's no, like waking up and being up for an extended period of time. I have the ability to do that sometime, but not so much. But anyways, doing a little bit of rambling here, and I might have to trim this down, but the point of the story is that, hey, regardless of whether or not if you're a single parent or if you came from a situation similar like me where you don't have vivid memories of, your dad spending that type of time with you when it's time to wind down and it's time to go to sleep. Like regardless of whatever it is that you have to do, you could have projects that you need to work on. You could have work that you need to do. Now that we're in this stage that we're in where we have all this time on our hands, and, just because of the whole COVID-19 thing, it's got a lot of us home right now, and it has a lot of us with a lot of time, not necessarily a lot of time on our hands, but like even if you're working from home right now, you're not working from home 24/7, right? Like there's a portion of your day that's going to be designated to work, and then there should be another portion of the day designated to family time. So like once you get into that family time block, from a father or dad standpoint, make sure you take the time out to give your kids that undivided attention, because trust and believe it is more for them than you could ever imagine, right? Like, I mean, the sad faces that I get from my son when I tell him, oh, I'm just going to be right out here, in our little loft area watching TV with mom. And he's like, Daddy, I need you in my room. And he just gets sad. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, is this fool trying to like wrap me around his fingers? But you could think about that too and be like, okay, like, dude, he's obviously just playing it up. And he's just acting right now. Like, yo, you need to go to sleep, right? Like, that's the thing. Like, in this day, like, you really just need to go to sleep. And I know that. But there's also that part of me that's like, I want to be in there and I want to be there for him, because I don't remember having that as a kid. So if you're a dad and you fall into that situation, or even if you're, a mom and you fall into that situation where you didn't have your mom or you didn't have your dad to like do those kind of things, we're at a time now that we should make sure that we're taking that little extra amount of time to spend that time with our kids before they go to sleep, to let them know that everything's going to be all right while they're sleeping, and they're going to wake up in such a good mood. And it may not guarantee that they're going to wake up in a good mood, but you want your kids to go to sleep on a good note. So I think that is the end of my overall message as I rambled on, but you guys get the point. So again, this was just one of those wasn't quick, but this is like one of those random impromptu confessionals or like vlogs. Like, I still don't know what I'm doing with my vlogs, but I'm kind of digging this whole like confessional thing that I've been doing right now. It really helps me, just talking in general is therapeutic. Like I said in the previous vlog that I did, it's very therapeutic. It's good to like talk and like get things out. And being that I'm an introvert, sometimes it's a lot easy to I'm just starting to realize that once you start talking, like sometimes it's easy to talk to a camera than it is to talk to an actual person, even though there's, you're watching this right now, so that means you're interested into what I'm saying. But right now it's just me and the camera, right? So it's a lot easier to convey ideas and to talk and just like really like be myself and just let you guys into some real stuff. And that's really the whole point of me doing any type of vlog, is to have you guys tap into or to share like real life with you guys. Like I'm not one of these guys that's out here that's just trying to promote content just to get clicks or to get subscribers or to get things like that. And don't get me wrong, I want all that stuff. I mean, obviously that's, if you're on YouTube or if you have a blog or if you have a website or if you have any type of business, like obviously you want a return on interest, right? Like that's the main goal. But what's the motive behind that goal? And for me, it's basically just like sharing things with you guys and just creating something that I could be myself on. And this is one of the things that I'm starting to do a little bit more, is because this allows me to be myself, and it complements my podcast and it complements my website, and it gives my followers and my subscribers and my listeners a little behind the scenes inside look on who I really am as a person. So I think that is really cool. So hopefully, if you guys like this, you'll give me a thumbs up, and that will definitely motivate me to do more. But even if not, I mean, as I feel the need to do more of these, or if I feel like I want to talk to you guys about something, or if I have something cool that I want to share with you guys, that's what I'm gonna do. So I think that's it for this round of confessionals, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.